Hi, it's Maria from Women into Wellness. In this video today, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 tips for healthy family nutrition. Welcome to my channel, Women into Wellness. This is where I provide you with tools, tips and strategies pertaining to movement, nutrition, mindfulness and lifestyle to help you maximize your potential for wellness. So thanks for joining me today. As I said, I'm going to get into 5 tips to help you with your family nutrition, and this is going to focus on getting in those healthful foods, the foods that have high nutrient density, that are really good for your body, and ones that we all know we should be eating more of, but can sometimes be difficult to get on the plate or get down the hatch when you are serving them to kids or to fussy eaters. Now, I'm going to mention kids here, but I certainly know that there can also be adult members of the family who are perhaps fussy or resistant towards eating some of these more healthful foods. And this is going to apply to them as well. So all of these strategies, you can apply it to children or adults alike. So let's first just define what are the healthy foods I'm going to be suggesting you need more of. These are going to be your plant-based foods. So this is going to include your vegetables, your fruits, your legumes, your grains, your nuts and your seeds. So basically anything that grew out of the earth and that has not been overly processed or refined. And these are the foods that I think everyone can agree we need to be ensuring that we get into our bodies as part of a healthful diet. I say diet, not as in diet as in cutting back food or cutting back calories, but just a healthy way of eating or a healthy eating lifestyle plan. So let's look at the 5 ways that you can get these foods in and have them enjoyed in your family meals. Number 1, and this is perhaps one of the easiest ones to do, is that you're going to serve up these healthful foods representing each of those food groups as picking bowls or platters. Now, sometimes these are called like a vegetable bowl or a plant-based bowl or a Buddha bowl, something like this. But if you've got a family, then you're literally going to just chop everything up and serve it on a platter or on a breadboard, like a smorgasbord of food. Give everyone their plates or bowls, have handy some sort of dip or dressing, and then let everyone fill their plates with a variety. And what you want to aim for, especially if this is to engage kids and also to get those nutritional benefits, is a bit of a rainbow effect going on your platter. So try and get foods from the different food groups, but of a range of different colours. So, you know, you might have some green spinach leaves on there, some yellow peppers, some red tomatoes, some red strawberries, some blue blueberries, some banana, all different things. You might have some brown grains on there, some purple beetroot. Just get as many different colours on there as you can. Chop them all up so that they are in nice attractive pieces. Don't be afraid to mix the fruit with the vegetables, because this is all good food. It's all good food. So put some watermelon on there, some mango, some raspberries. Really go in, choose some exotic fruit, try something you've never tried before, and just have it on the plate. You can take some food as well out of jars. So if you've got olives or pickles and things like that, and you don't have everything fresh, that's absolutely fine. If you've got canned beans, get some of those canned beans on there. Get some of those little cute packets of ready-made grains. Some of them actually have seasoning in them as already, like barley or quinoa that comes in a packet. It's already spiced up and herbified to taste good for you. Pop those on there, a couple of spoons, everybody gets their bowl or plate each. Make it a competition as to who can make their bowl up the prettiest with this nice array of rainbow colours, and then you're going to take a photo of everyone's meal. And for some reason with kids, that just increases their level of excitement, and they are much more likely to actually pick food up themselves, put it into their bowl, and then give it a try. Now, with a lot of these foods, I think they taste delicious as they are. My palate has been trained over the years to really enjoy these foods, and they do taste wonderful, but it's also nice to have a salad dressing sometimes, right? So use something like hummus. A lot of the times hummus can be a really easy one for people to dip their food into, or you can just take half of that pot of hummus, add in a couple of tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, some apple cider vinegar or some balsamic vinegar, stir it all up, little bit of pepper ground in there, and then that becomes a nice dressing you can pop on top. You could also do some guacamole on the side. Just nice little tips. Or make a olive oil vinaigrette, salt and pepper dressing. You get my meaning. But just a nice couple of different bits that you can have there. Really easy, because all you're doing is chopping, giving people this challenge to make a rainbow plate, and that you're going to take a photo of the plate and then for them to eat as much as they can. Hopefully this is going to get people a bit more excited about putting on their plate what they want to try in terms of vegetables and fruits. Number 2 is smoothies. Now, smoothies really cannot be overlooked as an amazing way to get healthful food into the bodies of the ones you love, including yourself if you're someone who doesn't like eating your fruit and veg. So with your smoothies, there's generally a bit of a hack as to how to make smoothies. You know, you've got to pick your liquid, make sure it's a healthful liquid. This can be a water, a type of milk, plant-based or animal-based dairy product, or it can be something like a fruit juice. You're going to have that in there first. You're then going to add in your fruit and vegetables. And yes, I said it, vegetables. So I'm going to suggest that you always pick 2 or 3 fruit and then add in at least 2 vegetables. So you've got 5 different fruit and veg in there, bare minimum, in your smoothie. So think about the nutrient, the phytochemical and the antioxidant content and the vitamins and the minerals you're getting just from a glass of smoothie. So if you think about this, there's going to be loads of recipes that you can look up online, but for example, you might choose that you're just going to put water in this one. You're going to put a handful of red grapes, put in a beetroot, some strawberries. You could then pop in there a carrot. You could pop in some spinach leaves, and you could pop in some blueberries. You can pop in whatever you like, and that, I think I just named probably 3 fruit, 3 veg. Anything, experiment. You can get a recipe book for smoothies. You can look smoothies up online. Just have a go. But the fun thing about this is that it's so easy, everyone can get involved. And again, you can do this as if you're creating your own family recipe book. So let's make it a challenge, guys. Let's create your signature smoothie. So, you know, Claire, this is your signature smoothie, you like this, that and that into it. Set it up, take a nice little photo of their smoothie, get them to taste test it as you're making it and see what else they want to add in. And you can do that for your other member of the family, so that you all start to get into this process of really enjoying the creation of creating healthy meals and substances for yourself in one of the most easiest ways. Easy to wash up, easy to prepare. Even a lot of the fruit, if you want to get the kids involved, don't even need to be chopped with a sharp knife. So just give them a table knife if they're old enough to use one. Get them to do it themselves and to chop in a handful of each at a time and to taste their smoothies. And if you like something a bit richer or protein filled, or you want to use it, for example, like a post-workout meal or an energy boost or as a meal replacement, then include some protein in that smoothie. So pop in there some nuts, pop in there some seeds. You can get a lot of these ground down packets of seeds now, like super seed blend that might have in it, for example, hemp, flax seeds, some nuts ground into it, some sesame seeds, sunflower seeds, that kind of thing to boost the protein. And did you know you can also make delicious, healthful chocolate smoothies? So I don't know many kids that are going to say they don't want to try one of those. Pop in a coconut milk, an almond milk or a cow's milk, you know, get in some Brazil nuts, pop in there some walnuts, put in some raw cacao, a handful of dates, a banana, and away you go. I'm getting carried away with smoothie recipes here, but I do love them and my whole family does. So that is another one. Smoothies, do it as a family activity, create your own recipes, get them to draw a picture of their smoothie, get them to write down, if they're old enough to write, the ingredients for it, and start to create a lovely little home recipe book, A4 paper, chuck them all in there, and you've got something lovely for the family to create together. Okay, we're on a roll here with making things, so let's carry on with number 3. This is going to be making energy balls or energy bars. Now, we're moving away from this kind of crunching down on chocolatey based biscuit snacks. If you want healthful food in your life, an energy bar is the way to go. And you can get plenty of these packaged up. You can find them in cheap shops these days. Places like Lidl, Aldi, supermarkets have their own brand. You can find them in the pound shop on deals for big brand names. Now, you can make these yourself at home. And generally all you're going to need as your basis for these is some sort of dried fruit that can be processed down. Now, I have made these without food processors, so you do not need one. However, it can make it a lot quicker and easier if you do have a food processor, because you could just chuck everything in and it will chop it all up for you and give you that nice smushy texture that you can pat down. So for this, you're going to need your dried fruits. Something like dates is always good, dried figs, dried apricots. When you're thinking, or dried prunes, when you're thinking about it, you want that kind of dried fruit that when you start to pull it apart and squish it, has a very sticky, gooey consistency, because that is what is going to bind together all of the other healthful foods that you put in there without you having to add extra things like butters, margarines to bind it together, which is what a lot of the shop bought muesli bars have in them. Also, those dried fruits will give you the natural sweetness that you require, and there is nothing wrong with having sugar from fruit, so it's all good. Now, you're going to have those in there. I'm going to suggest you choose at least one type of seed. I normally go max it out and use 3 at least types of seeds. So sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, hemp seeds, flax seeds, you name it. There's a whole load of seeds you could use. And you're going to add in there some nuts. If you can eat nuts, this is a great one to add some extra protein on top of the seed protein and some extra minerals and vitamins as well. Brazil nuts, always great. Walnuts, they've got a lovely oily consistency in both of them that really blend down well into this. Chuck those in, but you could be using almonds, hazelnuts, macadamia nuts, cashew nuts. You get my drift, right? So chuck it all in the food processor, or if you're doing it by hand, which I usually do, you are going to just chop everything up finely and then start to smush it together in a bowl. You can add in a spoonful of cacao powder if you want this to taste like it's a chocolate date nut seed bar. You can add in other types of dried fruit. So, for example, if you've got things like dehydrated strawberries, you could add those in if you want to, but you'll often find that what the basics there that I've given you, the bare bones of it, is going to provide you with a lovely, lovely bar. And you're just going to pack it and push it flat down into some sort of container or tray. I find with these that I really don't need to actually bake them. There's nothing wrong with it. You could bake it if you wanted to. Just flatten it down, cut it up into nice little slices or squares, and you've got a really simple food to eat. The great one about this is that the kids can get involved. They can help you. They're going to love, same like with the blender, they are going to love pressing that button and hearing that power of the whiz that they have control over on the machine. If it's something that requires chopping, so like if you're doing it by hand, then it's probably something you will need to do on your own, because you're going to need a sharper knife to get those dates or that dried fruit really down to a nice consistent small size so that it can all blend together and bind together. But that's a really good one. You can also roll them up in balls. Super fun if you're doing this with kids, to make little round like golf ball or smaller sized bites. You can roll these in like desiccated coconut when you finish, chopped nuts, cacao powder, anything like this, just to add a little bit of flair to them. So there you go, it's your energy / protein / dried fruit nut ball or bar. Okay, I said we were on a roll with baking and making, so we're going to carry on with the baking. So for this one, it's thinking about how you can transition any of your usual recipes, whether this is something mama or grandma gave to you or something out of a chef's cookbook or your own recipe, and to make it slightly more healthy. So a good rule of thumb that I always use when you are creating a recipe, whether it's for cakes or muffins, is to adjust the recipe in the following ways. So if they have given you a type of flour and it's a refined flour like white self-raising flour or plain flour, all-purpose flour, is to switch that up for a wholemeal flour. So you've gone one step already, switch it up for wholemeal flour. If you want to take it further, switch it for a nut or a vegetable-based flour, so something like almond flour or chickpea flour. So you've now taken something that is highly refined, that didn't include much nutrients, and you've now either added back in the wheat germ and the fibre that has got health benefits for you, or you've added in the protein because you've taken it to a nut-based or the vegetable-based type of flour. Now, the next thing is that when they say sugar, I'm going to ask you to at least half the amount of sugar. So if they say 200 grams, you're only going to put in 100 grams. You're going to use that other 100 grams to add in some type of ground down seed mix. Now, I've mentioned this before, you can buy these ground down seed mix. It might be hemp seed, it might be sunflower seed, sesame seed, it might be a mixture of all sorts of different seeds. You can often buy these really cheaply. They sell these in places like Lidl if you're based in Europe and you have Lidl shops. And you can put in 100 grams of that. So just supplant that for the 100 grams of sugar that you took out. So you've still got your dry ingredient mass is the same for the recipe to work. Now, if you're worried about the recipe dropping and it not being as light as it could be, then I would just add in 1 extra teaspoon of a rising agent such as baking powder. And then what I'm also going to suggest you can do, especially if you're making muffins, nearly any recipe, as long as it's like a general cake, it's not like some crazy off the wall recipe, a general cake or muffin batter type recipe is going to allow you to put in fruits or nuts on top of what you've already got in there. So if you're making a general recipe for a regular size cake, loaf cake or 12 muffins, you can pick up a handful of nuts, crush them in your hands. If you want to take more time, chop them down fine, chuck those in. Dried cranberries, raisins, whatever takes your fancy. You could be chopping up dates or prunes or whatever. And if you're going to add in some sweet dried fruit, don't forget this also adds sweetness. So where you've had the sugar in there, you could actually be taking some of that sugar out again for this. And another way that you can actually switch up with the sugar is to replace that refined sugar with something like stevia. Now, stevia is going to be more expensive. However, the benefits of stevia is it's not going to give you that high shooting blood sugar that you normally get from taking on board a normal sucrose based sort of table type sugar, granulated processed sugar. So replace it with stevia to get that lovely sweetness. You often don't need to use as much as stevia, so you might need to experiment a little bit. Make your life easier. Why not go out there and invest in somebody's own recipes? It's somebody who specializes in this sort of thing, who creates recipes or has a cookbook in which they have provided for you healthful options for baking. So enjoy the baking. Of course, kids are going to love it. Do it as a family activity. This is what we do in my house. We get out of the kitchen because our kitchen's too small. We go around the dining table, we take the weighing scales in there, and we all make the food together. We bake it together, and it's such an enjoyable family experience. And then we enjoy our treats, knowing that they may have a few of the treats in it that we know are not great for our body, but they are also packed with healthful foods that are good. It's that balance, isn't it? It's the balancing game. Eat the healthful foods so that you know you can enjoy the treats and your body is already taken care of. Okay, super, super simple. And I've just noticed, pun not intended, but it's a pretty good one because I'm going on to soups and sauces because they kind of follow the same format. So if you want to get vegetables into your family, the easiest way to do this is with a soup. It's one of the quickest ways that you can do cooking. You can do this in a pressure cooker. I often just do it on the hob because most vegetables are going to retain more of their nutrients when you cook it very quickly at a lower temperature. You can also do this in the oven and bake your vegetables, which is even easier because you don't have to stand over a gas flame or an electric hob checking that things don't boil and bubble over. So with these, I'm going to suggest you get a great big pot, you batch cook it up. Always add in garlic. If you're following a recipe, usually I suggest adding twice as much garlic as they've suggested because it's never enough. And garlic is so good for so many different reasons. I don't have time to go into all the different ingredients today, but trust me, you want some garlic in there. If you can eat these things, get in some onions. So that can be spring onion, shallots, red onions, your normal white onion, brown onion, pop it in there. You're going to be then wanting, if you can, something like leeks adds a lovely flavour to it, but you're then going to want some cruciferous vegetables. So these are things like your broccoli, your cauliflower. You can add in your sprouts. Just beware that sprouts have quite a strong flavour. So if you're trying to win some over to vegetables, it's not the first vegetable I'd go with. But you want these kind of things. So you've got your allium vegetables, which is the flavour giving garlic, the onion type foods. You've got your cruciferous vegetables, which are these heady vegetables, which are great antioxidants for the body. You're then going to want to add something that binds it all together a little bit. So you're going to be putting in something like a sweet potato. There's nothing wrong with a regular white potato. You can pop that in there. And then if you want to add some protein, you can pop in there a couple of handfuls of lentils. You can put in chickpeas. You could use any meat-based products that you're doing. Just make sure you cook it all so that everything is cooked through first. So if you're going to do the meat, I would add that in first with the garlic and the onions. Cook that off first, and then add everything else, and then vegetable stock. So you can just go ahead and chuck in water if you want to keep really clean with your eating. Then you're just going to add in your herbs and your pepper. And if you need a little bit more, you could be using pre-made stock cubes. This might be a vegetable stock cube or a chicken stock cube. And I would say go easy on the salt. So try and train salt out of your taste so that you have less of that in there, because a little bit is what we need, but we get most of that naturally from the foods we eat. So pop it all in a massive pan, chuck the lid on. Or if you're doing a baked version, I would put in there some onions. I would put in there perhaps some butternut squash chopped up with the skin off. I would put in as well a lovely array of peppers, all the different colours peppers you can get. So red, orange, yellow, green. Remember that rainbow? If you get the rainbow, you're increasing your basically the scope of your nutrient and mineral intake. So the more different varied colours you have is better for you. Put in some spices. So pick a couple of spices, whether that's some cumin you want to put in there, some paprika, whatever it is that's going to really float your boat. Blend it all down, chuck it in a blender, use a hand blender. If you don't have one, don't let this stop you. After you've cooked it all for 10 or 15 minutes, you can always mash these things down with a good old-fashioned masher. Trust me, it has been done. So, of course, the more you blend it up, the smoother the consistency, and you may have different textures that are preferred in your household, so you can take that into account as well. Serve it up with a lovely side salad. Serve it up as a meal in itself. If you've put in there something hearty like the protein, whether that's the lentils, beans, peas, or you've put in there some animal-based products such as some meat, then it's going to feel a bit more hefty in terms of perhaps satiating you for longer. Of course, with the potato as well, those type of products like the starchy vegetables. There's so many things you can do with the soup. It's so easy to make. Again, you can do this as a family thing of let's create our own recipes. Let's find what everybody enjoys. So sauces are exactly the same in that if I am making a pasta sauce for my kids, they don't like eating particularly spinach. They will love raw peppers, but for some reason they're not keen on eating cooked peppers. If I try and put an onion on their plate, they're not having it. So all of those things, same process with the garlic, with some herbs. They go in a pan and I just blend it all down. It's completely blended. It then goes on as a pasta sauce, and they just think it's a normal pasta sauce, but it's got all of these extra vegetables. It might have 3 or 4 different colours of peppers in it. You know, I can even put a beetroot in there. I could put chickpeas in the sauce. I've done this before as well to add extra protein. So just think about pouring in, do a big batch again, you know, freeze some of it if you need to. And then it's something you've got there as an easy go-to. Do not forget your herbs. Herbs, spices are going to replace excess salt if you're someone who needs to cut down your salt. But really make the most of what you've got. Use those lovely vegetables to infuse flavour into your soups and into your sauces. So I hope that you found these 5 different tips as to how to get healthful food into the mouths of the ones you love in your family. If you use any of them already, then please drop a comment below. Let me know which one you use or which one you think is actually going to be most beneficial for you to apply. I'd love to know how you get on. And until next time, I'm going to wish you bon appetit. I thank you for watching, and I always wish you well.